Hey there, we are continuing our coverage of Craft 3 Beta, and what I want to cover in this video is how to set up multi-sites. Now, if you have used Craft in the past and have used the multilingual feature where you can have multiple language sites or locales in the same installation, then you're probably familiar with how this works. So what Pixel and Tonic have done is they've tweaked that feature a bit to make it support multiple sites on separate domains. Now, there are some caveats and some trade-offs with this setup, and there's been some confusion about how it works and whether it really is like other multi-site features in other CMSs or not. So I want to walk through step by step how to do this so you can see just what is required to do and maybe what some of the limitations are as well. So we're going to work with Craft 3 Beta. We're actually going to install it and start right from scratch so you can see how to build this up. And the site we're going to use is actually just a real bare bones thing. We're going to do 3 branded sites. So if you have followed along in some of my other videos, you know that I built a site called Crafty Brewery as part of the Up and Running with Craft course, and I even used it in my Craft Commerce course as well. We're going to not use this site, but we're going to kind of leech off of this idea of this brewery. So let's say the brewery has multiple brands for their beers. They have like 3 maybe flagship beers. And they want to set up specific sites just for those beers. So the domain name is the nameofthebeer.com, let's say. And so they want to have 3 different sites. But they want to be able to manage all 3 of those branded sites in the same CMS. So that's what we're going to set up. Now, some of the requirements are that the sites pretty much all have the same type of content. They all will have a home page, they all will have an about page, and they all will have a where to buy page. Those are the 3 pages. Think of these as like microsites just for these brands. So if they do like a campaign, they can say, go to beerbrand.com, to learn more or whatever it is. So those are the 3 things that are going to be on each of the sites. And you'll see why in a minute that is a good fit for Craft multi-site. As we go, I'll sort of explain a little bit more of some of the limitations of Craft multi-site, and you'll start to see how it works. So let's jump in and start. So the first thing we need to do is get into the command line, create a project directory, and install Craft 3 Beta. Okay, the first thing we need to do is create our project directory, and we'll call that Crafty Brewery Brands. And we'll go into that, and then run Composer to install Craft 3 Beta. Now, if you haven't installed Craft 3 Beta before, then you'll want to follow along both the Composer video that I did and the installation video I did as well. We're going to do it here, but I have a little bit more detail and I step through it outside of the context of multiple sites. So we'll say create project, Craft CMS / Craft, and in the current working directory, and we want to get the beta branch. So we will let that run, and it will install Craft right into this directory. All right, and let's take a look. And there it is, and we should have our environment files as well, which we do. Let's go ahead and open this up in our editor and take a look. So here's our .environment file, and we have need to set up our database information. And so we'll call my database Crafty Brewery Brands Start. That's the name of mine. You want to put, obviously, the name of your database in there. And it doesn't have any password. Now I need to make sure that my web server is pointed at this web directory right here, because this is the default site for our Craft installation. So let me go into web. So I'm using Valet, which is a local hosting tool available through the Laravel project, but you can use whatever you want. I also use MAMP Pro. If you use WAMP or XAMPP or whatever you use, it's totally fine. It's not important for this setup here. So we'll say Valet link, and we're going to call this the The main brand we're going to start with is called Mystery Brew, so we're going to link this web directory to Mystery Brew so it comes up as mysterybrew.dev. And then we also want to create a new directory inside of templates. We're going to create a directory called Mystery Brew, because what we're going to do is group our site's templates in different directories. Back in our browser, we'll go to mysterybrew.dev/admin, and you can see we're prompted with the Craft installation screen. So we'll begin. We'll create our account. And our system name, we'll call this Mystery Brew. And the base URL for this default site is mysterybrew.dev. We'll use US English. And now it's installing Craft. All right, let's go to the dashboard. And now we're going to go to Settings and then to Sections. We're going to create our sections really quick. We'll have a home page, which will be a single, and we're going to leave it blank since it'll be the home page for the site. And then for the templates, it'll be mysterybrew/index. All right. You can see we're going to do the same thing for every single site. So we just want to make sure that it's all consistent. And we'll create another single called about. And this one, the URI will be about, and then the template path will be mysterybrew/about. We'll create one more called where to buy. And again, that's going to be a single. We're keeping it pretty simple here. Call it where to buy, and the template path will be mysterybrew/buy. And save. So now we have 3 sections set up, and so they all should be working. And if I go into my code editor, into my templates directory here, I can create a new file called index.html, and this will be Mystery Brew and homepage. And we'll create another one called about.html, and that'll be Mystery Brew about. And one more that we call buy.html. This is just the stuff that we've already set up, and this will be where to buy. All right, so let's test it to make sure our default site is working properly. So now if I go to mysterybrew.dev, you can see here's the home page. If I go to /about, there's the about page, and /buy, oops, it's actually /where to buy. There we go. So that's all working. So now we're ready to add in our 2 additional sites. So the first thing we want to do is create a new web directory. So I'm just going to create it at the project root alongside the other web directory, and we'll call this web unabridged stout. And unabridged stout is the new branded site we're going to create. So web unabridged stout, and let's go ahead and link this up to my web server. So if I back up here and I go to in web unabridged stout, we'll say valet link unabridged stout. All right. Now inside of here, I need to have an index.php file that will be used by Craft to know what to display when that public directory is accessed. So we can go in here to the index.php file that comes with Craft, copy that and drop it in here. I could also just duplicate that file as well, but we need to now define the Craft site here. So we have to define the Craft site, and in this case we want to use the handle for the site. Now this is going to be called unabridged stout. All right, how do I know that? Well, because I know that's how it's going to turn out when I add it into the control panel. Let's do that now. So in the control panel, I go to Settings, and then to Sites. I have my default site right here. Here's the handle, default. I can add a new site. We'll call it unabridged stout. Spell that right. Not spelling very good today. There we go. Unabridged stout. This is the handle that I just put in that index.php file. So language, it's going to be English. This site has its own base URL. It indeed does. And that is going to be unabridgedstout.dev. All right. And we save it. All right, now let's go into our settings again to our sections and go into each one. And we want to enable this for these sections. So now we're going to enable our unabridged stout site. This is going to have the same URI, but the template is going to be unabridged stout/about. And for the home page, same thing, unabridged stout/index. And then for where to buy, turn that on. This will be where to, probably should have done just buy, right? Would have been easier. Yeah, we'll keep it like that for now. And that will be /buy. All right, so now we have our sites all connected. So we just have to do the templates. That's the one piece that we're missing so far. So back in here in our templates directory, we have this here. So what I could do is I could duplicate this. Instead, we'll call it unabridged stout. There we go. And I just have to go in here and change this so that we know that we're looking at the right site. Sure do want to misspell stout today. Let's go ahead and put that in there and there as well. Looks like those aren't saved. There we go. Now let's test it in the browser. So if I go to unabridgedstout.dev, I get the home page. New domain, but it's still using the same Craft install and different templates. Now if I go to About, we get the About page. And if I go to Where to Buy, we get the Where to Buy page. All right, so everything is hooked up properly now. So a couple of details about this. I'm building this site assuming that all three of these branded sites are going to have the same or similar content. And the reason for that is because in Craft 3, and at least the beta implementation of this, is that the way that you decide on which site you're in is not at the dashboard or the control panel level where you can flip between sites and it's just like a mirror copy of everything where you have new settings and new add-ons and all of that stuff. You're doing it at the content level. So if I go into a home page here, you can see that I have these two sites set up for the home page. Now if I go into the entries for these singles right here, if I go into home page, you can see that I can toggle between the sites to add content. Now I haven't set up any fields or anything here yet, but I can do that and I'll show you that we're just toggling at the content level, at the entry level, not at sort of a global level where we're flipping between sites. And that's something to keep in mind. Let's go into settings, into fields. We'll add a new field group. We'll just call it branded sites. And we will add a new field. And this one will be page copy. We'll make it let's make it a rich text field. All right. Default, make it simple and save. All right, so now if I go in my settings, into my sections, I'll go to entry type and add that in and save it. We'll just do the same thing here just to make it quick, but of course we would want to customize this for the content. Now remember, the sites we are assuming are going to have similar content type across the sites and the pages. It's going to be different content, but the kind of content will be the same. And we'll have these 3 pages. So now if I go into my singles, to my home page, you can see now we have the page copy here. And I can just put that in if I wanted to, like that. And we'll save it. And then go here. And you can see that it has the same content now. So if I update this to something else and save it, when I go back to Mystery Brew, it's updated that too. But that's not what I want. I want these to have different types of content. What do we need to do? Well, let's go into our settings again. Go into our fields and go into page copy, our field. And this translation method here, we want to translate for each site. There's also the option to do custom, but we will actually want to translate for each site. So we'll save that. And now when I go into my entries, let's say I go to the home page, and I say this is the Mystery Brew homepage. And we save that. And then I flip over to Unabridged Stout. There we go. Now we see it. Now we see that they're being treated differently. And that's what we want. Unabridged Stout. We can save that. So now we have our content being treated differently, which is exactly what we want. All right, so let's go to our About page. About Mystery Brew. Save that. And here, you can see it's still blank. About Unabridged Stout. All right, and finally, let's go over to our Where to Buy. We'll just add a little bit of content here. Where to Buy Mystery Brew. And Where to Buy Unabridged Stout. All right, so let's set up one more site, same exact way. And then we'll get how this works in the templates with the different field handling multiple sites. So back here in the templates, I'm going to duplicate this Unabridged Stout, and my other brand I want to talk about is Victory Hop Brew. All right, and so that's going to have all of this. And so we'll just call this Victory Hop Brew for now. We can make this dynamic, but we'll just do it like this for now to keep it simple. And just replace these like so. So now we have our templates set up. Now we need to create our web directory. So I'm going to duplicate this one and we'll call web Victory Hop Brew. And inside of here, I need to change this to Victory Hop Brew. And this is our site handle. All right, I already know what it's going to be. So we're going to add that in so Craft knows when that public directory is accessed via the web server, that it knows which site to display. So we have to remember that, so we make sure that that setting is the same in Craft. All right, let's connect the web directory to our web server. So here, I'll go to cd web Victory Hop Brew, and then do, for me, it's going to be valet link Victory Hop Brew. For you, it might be different because you might be using a different tool for hosting. And there we go. Now let's add a new site. So we'll go to Sites, New Site, Victory Hop Brew. Confirm that that is correct, which it looks like it is. English, site has its own base URL, which it does, which will be victoryhopbrew.dev. And we will save that. Now we need to update our sections to include that site. So here, victory hop brew, it'll be about, and then victory hop brew slash about. And we can save that. Same thing for the home page. We'll enable it, leave it blank, victory hop brew slash index. And then for where to buy, enable where to buy, victory hop brew slash buy for our template. All right, so that is all set. Let's see if it works. Victory hop brew. All right, there's our home page. There's our about page and our where to. Sure, I should have made that slash buy, but there we go. So we have that all working. All right. So what's next? Well, we do need to go ahead and add in our content. So you can see that victory hop brew now shows, right? Right there. I haven't added my fields there, so let me do that really quick here. Go into my sections. What was that about? Go ahead and add that in and save. All right, so now if I go into my single for about, there we go, about. All right, so that's all working. We're going to change this to about victory hop brew. Save it. So this should be about unabridged stout, about mystery brew. All right, let's look at our others as well. All right, so it looks like this got, when I added a site, looks like this got turned off, which is interesting. Wonder if that is intended or a bug, but we will work through that by going into the entry types for the home page and designing our field layout again. And let's do the same thing here because I'm sure the same thing happened. All right, so now I can go into my entries for the home page. There we go, mystery brew home page, unabridged stout home page, and victory hop brew home page. And this will be, we need to change this like that. Okay, I want to make sure it took. There we go. And then where to buy, let's do that one as well. Where to buy mystery brew, where to buy unabridged stout, where to buy victory hop brew, and save that. So interesting with the fields disappearing, and I'm not sure if that was something that I did or if that was something that was a problem with the software, but we'll work through it. Things look good so far. Now let's go ahead and look at how we can make this single entry content show up in our templates in the right site. Okay, so back in our templates, we can now start to add in our template tags and see how those work with multiple sites. And the trick is that it's actually pretty straightforward. So this is the home page for the default site, which is Mystery Brew. We can do a couple things here. Let's just first test that this is working. So we can just output entry dot, the name of our field was page copy. And because this is a single, I can just do entry dot page copy and I'll be able to get the page copy. Let's see if we have it. So if I go to it, all right, there we go, Mystery Brew homepage. That was the page copy right here. Looks like it's all H1s because I didn't close the H1 tag. There we go, Mystery Brew homepage. Perfect, so we know that the copy is working. But what about the other sites? Let's try there too to see if we need to do anything special. So we'll go into unabridged stout. And not very good at closing my H1s. So we'll add entry page copy. Let's take a look at that one. So unabridged stout. There we go, unabridged stout homepage, and then unabridged stout was in that page copy. And I can verify that by going into the entries to the home page to unabridged stout, and it's called unabridged stout. We'll just call it home page here so we can differentiate it a little bit. And now if I reload, there we go. So our copy is working between the different sites using just that entry.page copy, our standard Twig tag in Craft. Very cool. And finally, let's go to Victory Hop Brew and add in that, and then check to see if that one works. So we go to Victory Hop Brew, and there we go, Victory Hop Brew homepage. So all of our fields are translating, which is how it's talked about in Craft, for us perfectly fine. Now let's look at adding in some other variables into the templates. So I'd like this to be the site name. So to do that, of course, we can just use our site name. And I'd like this to be the name of the page. So that's just entry.title. And then this will be the copy. All right, just like that. Because we're not dealing with any formatting or any styles or anything right now. So let me just grab that. And in fact, these are all going to have the same code. Now what you might be thinking is, all right, Ryan, these all have the same code. Can't I just use the same template? And the answer is yeah, you could. But what I'm thinking is that each of these branded sites is going to have a slightly different layout. So while this base sort of core content with no styles and just like the absolute minimum markup looks like we could reuse the same template, and we could if it was really basic and they all had the same layouts. But I'm thinking of like branded sites where there may be a different layout, there might be obviously different colors and styles. So I want them each to have their own template. If I was going to have it where they all were just differentiated by content, imagery, and CSS and via colors, then yeah, then we could definitely use the same templates for all of the sites. It wouldn't matter. But we could still manage them separately right inside of Craft. So what you're probably starting to see is that Craft multi-site is different than maybe how you've done multi-site before, where we're not flipping to a new version of the control panel and then managing the site in its own little isolated box. We're managing a site further down at the content level. We have multiple sites, but we don't actually flip to a new control panel. We are looking at those multiple sites at the content level, and that's how we edit them. So it's not going to fit every single situation that you have for multi-site, at least not in its current implementation. But if you have things where they are similar, and like we do here with the branded sites, we're doing microsites for all of our products, and we know that they are all going to have the same type of content, then yeah, this is going to work perfectly for you. But if you need something more elaborate, then this probably won't be a good fit. And that's okay. Then at that point, you'll want to stand up separate Craft installations for each of those sites. And at that point, it's probably a better thing anyway, because then you are having too many different things happening in the same Craft installation and too many different things happening in the same database, all sorts of issues with single points of failure. But if they're all going to be kind of the same, this is perfect. So if let's say I had product sites and I had one Craft installation I stood up for those product sites, and then I had different sites for each product, perfect. But my corporate site, my main corporate site, I don't want it in there. I'm going to stand up another Craft installation for that. So that's probably a good way of approaching Craft multi-site and how you can use it on your projects once it's in final release, not during beta. Don't go ahead and start using this in production yet in beta. All right, so if you have any questions, drop those in the comments. If you are unsure about installing Craft or using Composer, both of which we did in this lesson, you'll want to check out my videos on each of those. Thanks for watching and enjoy Craft multi-site.